Hello everyone, I greet you in the name of God Almighty. My name is Apostle Newton Silas and I have a very interesting video to share with you. Today is actually an interview between Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray, and they are saying that something big is about to happen in the UK. So without any further ado, let's get down to this video and check this out.
So when you hear people saying things, insisting, everybody insisting all the time, diversity is our strength, people know it's a lie. People know at the very least it's a half-truth. And they get fed up with this stuff being forced at them because all the time they're noticing the downsides of this. And the downsides include, by the way, I mean, it can never be said enough, the change of a society when the movement is so fast and the numbers are so large and the type of diversity is so difficult. People notice that, for instance, a high trust society of the kind that Britain used to be becomes a very low trust society.
And then
belief
becomes
in
poor. Yeah.
And the belief in institutions that used to characterize Britain, once all of those have delegitimized themselves, what are you left with? And then they come for the holy places, they come for your gods, they come for your temples, and people are meant to suck it up endlessly. And I've never been sure that they would. Referring to it, but as I said in The Strange Death of Europe, people in Europe, Europeans, British people, others, do notice that if they moved to China or India, they would not become Chinese or Indian. They do notice that. And they do notice that if they had children in that country, their children would not be regarded as Indian or Chinese either. And that's just to pick out two countries that happen to be the largest ones. But in that case, a lot of people think, how come anyone can move here and immediately become us? And the answer is that's not clear at all. It doesn't seem obvious at all. At the same time, of course, nobody wants to say nobody can become like us, because that's too judgmental and too negative a thought, too pessimistic a thought. And so what happens is just a set of stupid and banal lies. Diversity is our strength, that's another one. Diversity is our strength is possibly the main mantra of British and European societies now. And actually, again, as mantras go, is false. Diversity does bring some strengths, and it also brings some weaknesses. Diversity can bring a range of ideas, and it can bring ideas so terrible that they could destroy the society. It wasn't great that Ali Harbi Ali's parents moved from Somalia to the UK, got asylum, and their son then macheted an MP to death in his surgery. We didn't need the Ali family to bring the worst of the war zones of Somalia to the streets of a British constituency. And so when you hear people saying things, insisting, everybody insisting all the time, diversity is our strength, people know it's a lie. People know at the very least it's a half-truth. And they get fed up with this stuff being forced at them because all the time they're noticing the downsides of this. And the downsides include, by the way, I mean, it can never be said enough, the change of a society when the movement is so fast and the numbers are so large and the type of diversity is so difficult. People notice that, for instance, a high trust society of the kind that Britain used to be becomes a very low trust society.
And then
belief
becomes
in
poor. Yeah.
And the belief in institutions that used to characterize Britain, once all of those have delegitimized themselves, what are you left with? And then they come for the holy places, they come for your gods, they come for your temples, and people are meant to suck it up endlessly. And I've never been sure that they would.
So, well, here's an obvious question too. It's like, well, here's a definition of war. War is the definition of irreconcilable diversity. Right, so diversity is our strength. It's like, okay, well, Hamas and Israel have diverse viewpoints and they're not reconcilable. So what do we have? A war. So what's the story that people are supposed to swallow? It's that although the world has been eternally mired in internecine conflict, the war between diverse viewpoints, if we import all that diversity into the West, magically we'll wave a wand and all that diversity will be transformed into nothing but what? Productive complex productive cooperation. In the absence, by the way, in the absence of any reconciling framework, because people like Trudeau, for example, dispense with the idea of any national identity whatsoever. So their presumption is something like the natural state of people, regardless of the diversity of their opinions, no matter how diverse those opinions are, their natural state is productive peace. Right? So that's what? That's Rousseau? Is that what that is? Is that an unbelievably naive Rousseau? And is that the unwillingness? Is that a reflection of the unwillingness to look at the aspect of the human psyche that's gleefully pursuing murder and mayhem? Just to never cast an eye in that direction? It's all sweetness and light. We're all little children. And if that's what it looks like, something like that to me. It'll be the strange death of Europe will be something like the death of the overprivileged at the hands of their own naivety.
Yes,
and cowardice. And
you can see it. You can see it very closely. I mean, as I say, some ways. I mean, it's a horrible thing to say, but thank goodness the killer in Southport wasn't a migrant who had arrived illegally into the UK a couple of weeks earlier. But you want the peace of your society and the possible peacefulness of your society for the foreseeable future to be reliant on that never happening again?
Well, there's also reliable evidence, Douglas, that the children of immigrants are more likely to be radicalized than the immigrants themselves.
Absolutely. Especially reverse integration.
Yeah, especially if they're having a hard time integrating, right?
Well, I mean, that's one of the most common ones. I've spoken with you about this before, but I mean, the most common one is, a parent who flees a particularly ugly and warlike society like, say, Somalia might realize how lucky they are to arrive in Canada. They might. One would hope that they did. Will the child? No, the child's expectation is that the place they've born in is the normal order of things. And then a load of other people in society, have totally forgotten what the state of nature can be and has been for most of human history, and forget that actually, you can bang on all you like about disinformation or online and so on. Most people are just looking at the situation in front of them. And then suddenly war breaks out, hell breaks loose. Hopefully it's contained, but sometimes you see it completely uncontained.
This is terrifying. I think that if they said that I am from Britain, then there should be something that differentiates me from someone from Africa, Asia, and then the rest of the continent, right? And then if, for instance, we go to Africa, there is something that should differentiate me, a Nigerian from an Egyptian, and then also from somebody from Morocco, right? That is what their culture and then the foundation in which, in a sense, they are being built. These are some of the things that differentiate us. That is the reason why you can say, oh, this is an African, this is a white man, this is a black man, that kind of a thing. When you see some of these things, in a sense, happening, in the Europe, is it that Europe no longer wants their identity anymore? Or is there anything wrong for somebody to say that, look, I want to preserve, my culture, I want to preserve my identity? Is that supposed to be a problem? And if somebody feels that, no, look, I have right, to preserve my identity, then why should that be a problem? And that is the reason why I have always said that there is a need for people to learn to be tolerant, and then ability to be able to integrate into one society, especially when you are visiting. Now, people migrate, into Britain and then end up, bringing their cultural beliefs their religion into Europe, and then therefore causing problems, and then forgetting the fact that in the process of trying to do that, there are some people that will object whatever you are trying to do, and then when they object, and then it becomes what, a problem. And then that is the reason why you see some of these European, or should I say Britain precisely, is having problem with a lot of Muslim immigrants. Why is it that they do not have problems with the Ukrainian immigrant, for instance? But why is it that they're having problem precisely the Muslims? It's because of why? Different in religious belief. Because of both religion, they doesn't have different foundation in which they are built. So you don't expect to fuse both and then you expect a better result. No, it's not gonna be like that. And then that's why what Douglas has been warning and been advocating, you understand, that this is the dangers of allowing illegal immigrant into Britain. Because as they go there and then they are there, of course, they want to practice their religion, they want to practice their culture, they want to support what is really going on between Israel and the Palestine, even though that tend to divide so many nations. People tend to have different opinion when it comes to this kind of issues. And then in a situation whereby people are supposed to have applied, or maybe the leaders could have applied diplomacy in fixing their problems, but they did not do so, and then some decide to take side and end up polarizing everyone and makes the situation worse. And then that is the reason why you see this war against innocent Palestine and the one of Russia and Ukraine, everything is still ongoing. Why? It's because of what? Taking side and not fixing the real problem. So are we going to shy away that some of these problems in a sense are not there? No, they are there, and we have to fix them. If we do not fix them, these are they keep degenerating, and then it keep on, you understand, becoming more problem and more problem, you understand, for everyone, and it's making the world not a safer place. And then that's the reason why we are saying that what, look, people need to learn how to integrate into one society. When you find yourself in one society, please don't try to change the person. You can only advise the person. I understand that no culture is kind of static, it's dynamic, and then since it is dynamic, you don't kind of force or impose some of these things on the people. We know that Iran are doing very well economically, Kuwait are doing very well economically, Saudi Arabia are doing well economically, Turkey is doing very well, Qatar is doing very well, and some of these countries. So if we look at some of the respective countries that they are having some of these problems, we talk about maybe probably Iran, Palestine, and some of these countries, Yemen and the rest, or Pakistan, Afghanistan. So I was saying that why not some of these people should rather go to those respective Islamic countries? Isn't it going to be easier for them to live with them, because of why they are same Muslims, same values and all that? So why not they just migrate there instead of coming to Europe? Because this is a situation whereby you are coming to Europe, and then the Europe in the other way around, they don't even want you. So why forcing yourself to go to a place that you are not needed? But then I just felt like, why not they should just go to Iran? Why not they go to Saudi Arabia? Why not they go to Qatar? Why not to go to some of these countries? Because they are doing very well economically. They are doing very well, and they are places that people want to even go there for vacation, tourism, and all those things. So why not you go there instead of trying to go to Europe?